You're going to be breathing in. Oh, what's that? Is that what I think it is? Yes, it is. Get ready for this shot.
He made a fatal mistake.
Greetings from Ice Fortress, Pennsylvania. My name's Brett, and this is TopoRanger for February 19th, 2026. And today we're going to be talking about spelunking elephants. Yep, that's right. Elephants on the ground in a cave doing their thing. So let's get started. Oh, one thing I want to say before we start, I think I did figure out the lag issue. I apologize for not being more on top of that with the other videos. It has something to do with the driver. And so this video should be better in that sense. We're not going to be lagged because we will be reviewing text, pics, and video, right? That's what it's all about. Text, pics, video. And we're going to be looking at all this stuff to talk about these spelunking elephants. And I'm not kidding. These elephants are caving. They're going in there, going in deep, right? So let's get started. Where are we going? We're going to Africa, right? And here we have Africa and the little blue marble here, the big blue marble. So we're going to zoom in here into, where are we going? We're going to Uganda? No. Burundi? No. Congo? No. We're going to Kenya. And let's see if I can find it on my own here. Yes, we can. What is this going on right here? What do we have? There is a giant dark green blob on the screen as we come in here. There it is, Mount Elgon National Park. Okay. Let's go ahead and see if we can just get to where we're going here. So what we're going to talk about today are the Kitum Caves, or really the Kitum Cave. There are a bunch of caves on the sides of this volcano, but the one in question today is the Kitum Cave, which is a very, very interesting cave. Let's see if we can go on the satellite here and just see how that is. Hopefully this is not laggy. I don't think it shouldn't be, right? And if we pull out, you will see where they are. Now, this Mount Elgon National Park is a very large, very, very substantial situation we got going on here. And the reason that is because it's a giant shield volcano. Okay, a giant shield volcano. All right, so first off, let's look at this topo map that I had up in the beginning. All right, so here is Mount Elgon, and it does in fact look like a giant volcano. I think the Kitum Cave is over here. Let's zoom in a little bit because this is a cool looking thing. What happened to my highlights? Hey, there we go. Give me, I want my highlights back. All right, so let's just do a little intro here with Mount Elgon. Mount Elgon, it's an extinct solitary volcano straddling the international border between Uganda and Western Kenya, characterized by its immense scale and ancient geological origins, right? Nothing better than ancient geological origins. That's the kind of stuff we like here. It rises to a height of 4,321 meters at the Wagagai Peak. Its highest point is located in Uganda. The mountain's vast basal diameter, basal just means the base, right, exceeds 80 kilometers, encompassing the largest intact caldera on Earth at approximately 40 kilometers across. So volcano goes up, and you have the thing in the middle, right? That's the caldera. It's the largest intact caldera on Earth. So there might be other calderas that have been eroded, or for whatever reason, they're not intact. This is the largest, the biggest caldera that's actually still intact, as East Africa's oldest extinct volcano with initial eruptions dating back 24 million years. Wow. So the structure has been shaped by extensive erosion over that time. Obviously, it's raining, reducing its once greater elevation while preserving diverse lava tube caves, hot springs, and 4,000 square kilometer base. Lava tubes, first off, the cave that we're talking about today, it's not a lava tube, but it is located on the flank of a volcano. It's not actually a lava tube. Maybe there are lava tubes on or in other parts around Mount Elgon, but that's not the research I'm doing today. The primary rock type include basalt and nephelinite. So basalt, I mean, you know what basalt is. We just talked about basalt in our last video. Nephelinite? I don't know what that is. Nephelinite? Is that something to do with with Nephilim? right? Possibly. The volcano's defining topographic feature is its central caldera, spanning 8 to 10 kilometers in diameter and recognized as the largest intact caldera globally. And that's saying a lot because there's a lot of calderas. Extensive erosion over millions of years has dissected the structure, lowering the peak from an estimated original height exceeding that of modern East African volcanoes, the Kilimanjaro, where that's an East African, right? And exposing layered volcanic sequences, numerous caves from solidified lava tubes and dissolution or ash deposits and landslides on the lower slopes. So it sounds like there might be lava tubes, but again, we're not talking about that. In terms of hydrology, Mount Elgon functions as a key transboundary water tower, originating rivers that drain into multiple basins. So the water comes down, and since it's kind of, shaped like a cone, we got the headwaters of, a lot of rivers are stemming from this beast of a mountain. The first recorded European exploration of Mount Elgon was in 1883. There was a British geographer named Joseph Thomson, and he approached the mountain from the south during his expedition through East Africa, naming it Massawa, or Elgon. Thomas's visit marked the initial documented European contact, though he did not ascend. So he was the first European to go there, but he didn't actually climb the mountain. His accounts highlighted the mountain's prominence and isolation amid surrounding plains. 7 years later, British explorer Frederick Jackson, accompanied by Ernest Gedge, conducted the first European traverse of the caldera from north to south. Jackson's expedition provided early topographic insights, naming features such as Jackson Summit after himself. How convenient, right? And he emphasized the caldera's vast scale. Subsequent efforts included C.W. Hobley's 1896 circumnavigation of the mountain, going all around it, and in 1911, ascent of Koitobos Peak by climbers Stigler and Komunke, which further mapped volcanic formations and elevations reaching 4,321 meters. For all my non-metric brothers and sisters out there, the 4,321 in meters translates to 14,176 feet. That's a pretty big volcano. So that's Mount Elgon and Kitum Cave. So Kitum Cave is in Mount Elgon National Park. It's on the Kenyan side, and Mount Elgon is an extinct shield volcano formed in volcanic pyroclastic rocks rather than as a traditional lava tube. It extends approximately 200 meters into the mountainside. So that's like 700 feet, with a main chamber measuring 160 meters long and up to 100 meters wide. That's pretty wide. And inside this cave, there's a lot of sodium, calcium, magnesium salts on the walls and the ceilings, on the floors. And that is going to make it a vital site for geophagy. If you looked at the TopoRanger post this morning, I said the keyword for the day is geophagy. And what's geophagy? Well, we're going to find out. In this case, geophagy, you could also call it animal influence speleogenesis. Speleogenesis just means how a cave is formed. Speleo cave, genesis, how it's formed. Animal influence speleogenesis is then caves forming with the help of animals. And in this case, the big mover and the shaker in this situation are these elephants, right? But there are a whole bunch of other animals go into these caves. It's essentially an underground salt lick. Other wildlife, including bats, leopards, antelopes, also frequent the cave, drawn by the salts or using it as shelter. There's more animals than just a short list. The cave is one of 5 major caverns on the peak. So there are 5 other majors, which means, what does that mean? That means there's probably a lot more minor ones, a lot more smaller caves. So Mount Elgon formed during the Miocene through intense volcanic activity. And this activity went on for 24 million years. And the most of it was built up between 20 and 12 million years ago with alternating layers of basaltic lavas, scoria, and pyroclastic deposits. It's polygenetic. What does that mean? Poly means like more than one, right? And then a genetic just means genetic, again, kind of like genesis means how it's formed. Like polydactyl, am I saying that right? polydactyly, many fingers, like Hannibal Lecter, right? Hannibal Lecter had 6 fingers in the book. I do remember that. And it's also reported that some of the Nephilim have 6 fingers too. The Afghanistan giant, right? 6 fingers, 2 rows of teeth. There's a connection here. It's polygenetic, primarily driven by erosional processes in the heterogeneous pyroclastic rocks. So these pyroclastic rocks are not, they're not uniform. They have chunks, big chunks, small chunks. It developed in a sequence of sodium-rich volcanic materials, including a cap of dense pyroclastic agglomerate. And that layer is about 2 feet thick, overlain by more permeable, tough layers up to 30 feet, 33 feet thick, and underlain underneath by massive tough units exhibiting columnar joining. That layer there is about 20 meters thick. Speleogenesis involved sapping behind waterfalls. So let's go ahead and see what sapping behind waterfalls is, because I knew about this process. I didn't know it was called sapping. Sapping behind waterfalls refers to the geological erosion process where splashback and hydraulic action undercut the cliff face beneath a waterfall, creating a cave-like rock shelter or alcove. And we saw that in the video where we went snorkeling up there at State Game Lands. Was 13 up in the gorge there. A lot of those things, you could clearly see the different layers and how they were affected by the splashback and the erosion, right? And you got the notch and then the retreats up the valley. This undercutting process, often called retrograde erosion, that's what leads to the eventual collapse of the harder overhanging ledge, causing the waterfall to retreat upstream. Now, this is not a waterfall, but I mean, or at least there are waterfalls, I think, coming over the edge here along the cliff face, which we'll see in a minute as we go over some of these pictures and videos. But it's not like you go there, the cave's there, and there's this huge waterfall. But there is water flowing down from the slopes of Mount Elgon, penetrating in. Okay, so they think this is primarily formed by sapping behind waterfalls along surface stream valleys, where water infiltrated the incompetent agglomerate layers above underlying clay-rich horizons, leading to progressive roof failures and cavity enlargement through collapse and dissolution in the tuff. This process exploited the lithological contrast within the Elgon volcanics. That just means the different layers of rock contrast within the Elgon volcanics, which consists largely of alkaline mafic tuffs, phoidites, phonolites, minor lavas, resulting in the cave's non-solutional morphology. I have no idea what phoidites or phonolites are. But we don't need to know what those are, I don't think, for this conversation here. So you have these eruptions happening millions of years ago. You have pyroclastic, right? Sweeps down over the mountainside. If you don't know what pyroclastic flow is, we're going to show you right now. And this is it. Here is a volcano, and then you have the magma coming up like that, and it basically explodes. I mean, we've all seen pictures of these ginormous ash clouds going into the upper atmosphere. That can cause acid rain when the ash falls out. This is the pyroclastic flow. So the pyroclastic flow is like the ash and all the different material that gets popped out of this thing. Some of it's heavier than others. It all just kind of flows down the sides of this mountain. It's super hot, and it goes really fast. Think Pompeii. Think about those images of the people in Pompeii where they find the casts of their bodies, right? And there's one of that couple. They're like snuggling, and then there's one like with a dog, and then there was one guy like passed out on his bed after a night of partying, right? Because the Romans, they like to party. Those people were killed by something very much like a pyroclastic flow. So it's boom, it's fast. It looks slow. If you watch videos of this stuff, they always look like they're moving kind of slow. That's because it's like 30 miles away. If you were right up on this thing, or if you were standing next to it, let's say like you're standing next to a highway, it would go by like this. Literally. That's how fast these things flow when you're down, and boom, it's just hot. You got to wonder what the people in Pompeii actually died of. Suffocation first, the heat first. I mean, I don't know, but they died pretty quickly. It's I guess it would not be a bad way to go considering how fast it is, but maybe not. Maybe you were partially protected. Going a little sidebar here, partially protected, and it just got really hot, and you didn't get covered with ash, but you just cooked alive basically. And the pyroclastic flows go down the side of Mount Elgon. And if you were to look at a pyroclastic flow from the side, this is what it would entail. This is what it would look like. So you have these swirling, super hot clouds of ash and gas. The ash is like little pieces of glass, right? Concentrated flow dominated by particle collisions. So then the heavier stuff is down, flowing over the ground like water, and that's where the larger particles are, and they're rubbing up against each other, flowing again. As fast as that. Let's just do this real quick. How fast does a pyroclastic flow move? I'm saying really fast. It says they're extremely fast moving currents of hot gas, ash, and rock, typically traveling at speeds over 60 miles per hour. So that's basically, right? However, in major explosive eruptions, these deadly gravity-driven currents can reach speeds up to 450 miles per hour. They can travel miles down valleys, often faster than any person can escape. Seeing as how this is such a big volcano, and these must have been massive, just gargantuan eruptions, this thing was moving 300 miles an hour. So there's nothing you could do. You're cooked, Even if you see this thing coming off in the distance, and you're like, okay, well, let's start running. Maybe if you're in a car, I don't know, or a vehicle, I don't know. But if the thing's coming at you 300 miles per hour, you're done. You're cooked. I don't think you can outrun a pyroclastic flow, even if it's slow, on the slow end, which is still 60 miles per hour, right? And then you have this thing here, which is the flow body and fluidization. I'm not sure what that means. The elutriation of ash. I don't know. What does elutriation mean? And here's the flow head. Here's the nose of it, right? This is what it would look like from the side. And this is what it looks like when you include everything else that would happen. How do you get to these things? Well, there are tours, and you'll see some of the videos we're gonna review here today show people going in for different reasons. Some for science, some for tourism. The accessibility varies along the passage. The initial 100 meters are walkable, so the front end of the cave is walkable, but it narrows thereafter, requiring crawling in low sections before becoming impassable at around 200 meters in length, which is 650 feet. This structure reflects the cave's origin as a collapse and sapping feature in pyroclastic rocks, with internal modifications from natural processes and animal activity. The main driver of those animal activities in the enlargement, again, is going to be these pachyderms, right? These elephants. And just to get back to the pyroclastics for 1 second, this is what these things look like, right? Here's a person in a blue vehicle trying to outrun a pyroclastic flow. Did they make it? I don't know. I hope they did. I mean, look at the height of this thing, the width, and it would be terrifying, utterly terrifying to see one of these things. So the elephants are going into these things because they are looking for, I think one of the primary things they're looking for is salt, but there's other things in there as well. The mineral licks in Kitum Cave are composed primarily of sodium, calcium, and magnesium salts leached from the rich volcanic rocks of the Mount Elgon formation. And the formation is just the various layers of rock by percolating groundwater. These deposits precipitate mainly on the cave walls and floor due to evaporation of mineral-laden water in the stable, humid microclimate. So there's going to be water on the surface. It's going to evaporate, and then when it evaporates, all these good necessary, much-needed minerals then evaporate out of there. The licks manifest as powdery white and gray efflorescences, often appearing as soft, friable coatings. Friable, pretty sure that just means crumbly, that reflect the ongoing dissolution and reprecipitation cycles. In the cave's main chamber, these features extend across large portions of the vertical surfaces, reaching heights up to 4.5 meters in areas where the rock lithology permits stable accumulation. Now, this is an interesting part of this whole thing. The renewal or regeneration of the mineral licks occurs through a dynamic process where the exposure of the underlying fresh rock surfaces allows continued leaching and precipitation, regenerating the deposits on a geological timescale. This cyclical renewal maintains the licks' accessibility and extent despite surface alterations. Kitum Cave's mineral licks stand out as one of the largest and most extensive known in East Africa, owing to the scale of the cave's 200-meter-long chambers and high mineral potential of the Elgon volcanics. The fauna of Kitum Cave is characterized by a mix of resident and transient species drawn to its mineral-rich environment. Large colonies of Egyptian fruit bats, numbering in the thousands, roost on the cave ceilings and walls, utilizing it as a maternity site where pregnant females give birth and nurse their young. So it's a bat maternity ward. These megabats, and no, I didn't just make that up, these things are called megabats. Why are they called megabats? Because they're big. And we're going to see a picture in a second here. Sampled extensively in the cave contribute significantly to the local biomass through their guano, aka poop, deposits, which form deep accumulations on the floor. African elephants, Loxodonta africana, serve as the primary mammalian visitors, entering the cave nocturnally to excavate sodium salts from the walls, often in groups that reshape the interior of the passages. Let's take a quick peek at the Egyptian fruit bat, because in the videos we're going to see mainly elephants and bats. Cut action. The Egyptian fruit bat, also known as the Egyptian roosette, is a medium-sized megabat. It's a megabat, distinguished by its fruit-based diet. So it doesn't suck blood, it just eats fruit. Social roosting habits and rare echolocation ability among fruit bats. Didn't know that. That's interesting. Native to sub-Saharan Africa, parts of North Africa, and the Middle East, including Southern Europe. Why are they called mega? Physically, adults measure 12 to 19 centimeters in length with wingspans of about 60 centimeters, featuring dark brown to gray fur, large eyes for enhanced night vision, and a long muscle adapted for feeding on fruit, right? Just stick that face right down in that fruit. They consume 150% of their body weight nightly. Holy crap. Wow. Let's look at a pic there. Hello. I'm an Egyptian fruit bat. Look at those claws, man. Look at those suckers. I mean, that's a pretty, as bats go, and let's be honest, a lot of bats are really ugly. I mean, you know, God gotta love them, but their faces are not much left to be desired. It seems like these big ones, right? The flying foxes, what are they, in Indonesia or wherever they are. I think those are the biggest ones, and they're like this tall. The megabats, at least the ones that I've seen, seem to have the cutest look to them. I mean, look at that. It's like a little stuffed animal, but it's not. It's a bat. It's going to bite you. So let's talk about these elephants and what they're doing in there. The cave, it plays a crucial role in the mineral supplementation of herbivores. So plant-eating animals need to supplement their diet with minerals, right? Sodium, magnesium, stuff like that, because they're not getting, perhaps they don't get enough of it from their salads. And in the sodium deficient soils surrounding Mount Elgon. Yeah, so the soils on the side of this volcano are already sodium deficient. So they're eating plants grown out of sodium deficient soil. You're not getting enough sodium. African elephants primarily utilize the cave's sodium-rich volcanic tuff walls, which contain over 100 times more sodium than their typical forage plants. That's a lot. Excavating approximately 2.5 to 5 kilograms of rock per elephant per night using their tusks to access essential minerals like sodium, calcium, and magnesium. This behavior supports elephant health, migration patterns, and reproduction in the region, with visits occurring in groups of up to 19 individuals lasting as long as 6 hours beginning after dark. So we're going to watch in a couple minutes here, we're going to watch some footage of these elephants nocturnally going into this cave. And it's wild. It's wild. It's just very, very interesting. I think they seem to prefer to go in at night, and they bring the little kiddos in with them, right? They bring the little elephants in. They teach them how it's done. Yeah. Notable expeditions. In 1980, as part of the Operation Drake expedition, British conservationist Ian Redman. We're going to look at a couple videos. One is from his channel, and another one is from a documentary that he was in. Ian Redman. He conducted observations at Kitum Cave to study the behavior of elephants mining salts from the caves, documenting their nocturnal visits and the gradual erosion caused by their tusks and trunks. This work built upon earlier documentation of the mineral licks and highlighted the unique adaptation of Mount Elgon elephants. This Ian Redman guy, I think he was one of the first Western scientists to really get into this whole spelunking elephants thing, right? And there is a connection to Marburg virus. 1980, there was a French electrical engineer who went in there, came out, started feeling not so good and died. And then there was also a hemorrhagic fever. Right? He died in a Nairobi hospital. 1987, there was a 15-year-old Danish boy who visited the cave, and he died approximately 9 to 10 days after the brief excursion. He developed initial symptoms of Marburg virus, including headache, malaise, fever, and vomiting. I'm not going to go into that part. There's plenty of other videos on YouTube that focus more on the Marburg virus angle of this thing. Let's just say, Marburg virus is a hemorrhagic fever. It's just, it's got to be a horrible way to go. They do talk about that a little bit later on. That I think they think now it's coming through those cute little cuddly fruit bats, perhaps. If you're not into caves or, animals, this might be a rough episode for you. The optimal visiting period is during the dry seasons from June to October and December to March, when trails are less muddy and accessible. The elephant activity around the cave increases due to their salt-seeking behaviors. Okay, that's what's kind of going on, right? Volcanic lithology, salts leaching out, elephants coming in, using their tusks to physically excavate into the walls, and then they eat this stuff up. They're eating a lot of it. This is a picture of a group of elephants, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a half a dozen elephants, and they go in large numbers in the cave at night, working their way through the cave in complete darkness. Now, they might have had a flash from a strobe or something here, probably scared the you-know-what's out of them. I mean, they're just going along, right? And also, I don't know. I'd be a little ticked off if I was an elephant. This might have been like a trail cam, but it looks like an older photo, though. This might actually be one from Ian Redman, but that's what they look like. They go through the caves at night in complete darkness. And some of the videos we'll go into detail about that. These are scrapings. These marks you see here, these are tusk marks, right? From where the elephants dig into certain portions of the surface of the walls of this cave and the ceilings. They dig into there. This is a photo by George Korounis, which sounds like a Greek last name to me. Here's another picture by George Korounis. Hope I'm saying that right, George. Sorry if I'm not. This is like a close-up, and here you can really see the tusk marks just like they said before. Some of the layers in the lithology of this area, some of them are hard, right? And then some of them are soft. The elephants obviously focus on the soft parts because that's the parts they can dig in, and they can't lick it because they have their tusks. And I guess elephants, they don't have like 10-foot long tongues. So little chunks fall down. They snuff it off with their trunk and they pop it in their mouth like a snack. And there is a picture of the entrance. And as you can see, it is quite large. I think the entrance itself is 100 meters wide. Little steps here. They do take tours here. Would you go into a cave that is known to be an origination point for Marburg disease, hemorrhagic fever? I think some people say that Marburg is kind of like Ebola. I don't know if that's correct, but are you brave enough to go into a cave where people have come out with Marburg's disease and died? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would do that. I'm not sure if I would do that. And we're back. Sorry, I had to let Perry in, and I also had to re-find this this PDF that had the map. It timed out. I didn't know PDFs timed out. So let's go ahead and look at this. Is from Microclimate and Niche Constructionism. This is a scientific paper about the bats, basically. Microclimate and niche construction. But it for our purposes, we're going to use it because it has several maps of the cave, and it has some graphics here. Like it said earlier, there are other caves in the park, right? And this little map here shows you where they are. Here's the park headquarters. Here's Kitum Cave. You also have Mikhail Cave and Nagarisha Cave. This is the entrance to Makingini Cave, right? And this is looking out of the Nagarisha Cave. And there's bats in these too. So let's go ahead and find these maps, which are going to be right here. And here this one is right here. Let's rotate this clockwise so we can see what the hee-haw's going on. And here it is. So this is Kitum Cave plan. So we're looking down from above. Picture yourself floating high above the volcanic flanks of this gigantic volcano in Africa. And this is what the cave would look like if you were hovering right above it. Now blue, because this paper has to deal with microclimates, it does, the maps are coded here with temperatures, because I think they were studying how the bat roosts affect the temperatures in the caves. So don't really pay attention to the blue, just pay attention to the shape. Here's the entrance, and there's a waterfall here during the rainy seasons. These, in the cave map, these are the walls, right? And this thing here, that little thing there, is 10 meters. So that's 33 feet right there. So if we take that, put that in our brains, and then if you come back to the entrance, you'll see the entrance is quite large. And it goes back there. And there are little standing water ponds in the back, which the elephants actually drink after eating their salty snacks, right? And here's a profile section. So if you were in the rock and you were looking at the cave sideways, this is what it would look like. And we also have a handy dandy scale marker here, 10 meters. So that's 10 meters. That's 33 feet. So boom, 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 33, 33, 33. Goes back into the cliff. How cool is that? This is Nagarisha. So they did this study on multiple of these caves here. And this is another one of the caves. Okay, so now that we've seen that map, here is a like a PDF flyer that also shows an interesting angle here. Let's get this a little bit bigger. There we go. Actually, let's go even bigger. Let's go for it. Let's just go PDF. Let's PDF max here. So this is explaining how things work here. Tusking on all surfaces of the yellow agglomerate. There's agglomerate layers inside this stuff. Some is green, some is yellow. And that's the stuff they're actually getting at, because that's the stuff that has the minerals, that has the sodium, the magnesium, and the calcium. And here's a lava unit. So that probably denotes a harder surface unit. And the sapping, like, so imagine there's water coming over this, right? For a second, imagine this is on the surface. And this resistant layer here is more resistant, but then the splashback would come here. Now, that's not what we're looking at right here. This is actually a profile from in the cave itself. Mud and collapsed blocks. And here's Nagarisha Cave, pick marks. People also go into these caves and use them to get those yummy salty treats there. So now let's just look at some pictures, because we can. And I didn't have enough in the first section, and I want you guys to know what this thing looks like, right? And it is a tourist site. People do go in there, and it seems like a lot of people go in there. Okay, hold on one second. I gotta let them in. Freaking cats. Cats, gotta love the cats. So there's people do come in there, and you probably go out there in a little shuttle. I mean, I don't know how many people. It's not going to be like Niagara Falls or anything, but these people are going in. And again, I asked you the question, would you go into this cave knowing that two people have come out of this cave and died from a hemorrhagic fever, which they essentially took in or caught and died. Would you go into this? There's the entrance. Looks like it has like an arrowhead right there. Here's somebody, he's kind of probably pointing out the tusk marks, the tusking. And there is some water coming over the surface. And there are bones in this cave. There's one video I watched. I'm not sure if we're gonna watch it, but they found like an ox, like a big skull with these horns. I think that's what that might be. Animals do go in there. Other animals do go in there for the salts as well. And sometimes they die in there. Now this is interesting because this shows, is this Kitum? I guess this is, I'm gonna say this is Kitum, but it does go back there even farther. I don't know if this is actually Kitum Cave, to be honest. It does go back quite far, but the shape of that passage right here, there's a skull. There's the markings, right? Now let's see what else we got here. That's the entrance. Now this, I don't know what this is. I mean, like a little side passage? I just, you gotta wonder about these things. Here's the water going over that thing. And you can see it. And here, yeah, see, here's the tour bus. What else we got here? Let's see. Kitum Cave. Now, the cave itself, it has a plaque over the front of it, which is what that is. But you can't even read it. It describes it as a lava cave, but it's not actually a lava tube. Here's a 360. Let's look at that. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, wow. Look, oh, that's nice. There's the entrance. There's the guy who took it. That's weird how his face distorts, right? There's the ceiling. There's the floor. This is a 360 by Daniel van Houten. Maybe he's Dutch. There's a person there. Can we zoom? Yeah, we can zoom. Or maybe that's just another light. But that's what that looks like on 360. Here's another 360. Let's go check that one out. I love these 360s. And this is another Daniel van Houten. And this is at the entrance as well. Maybe closer to the entrance. See, there's where you come up. That's where the elephants come up too. I wonder if he's using that same kind of camera that Ryan has. And he's just taking stills from that. But that's, that's what the rock looks like. This is essentially, this is what it looks like if you were walking into this thing. See if they got anything else of interest in here. So let's get to the video now. One thing I do want to say, though, is there is a nice in-depth PDF on this cave, which we're going to see here in a second. And I would have, highlighted and gone through and pulled some stuff out if I thought I could have. But it's, what year is this? It says 2006. But if I click on the read full text here on ResearchGate, it's telling me there's no preview. But then if you go here and you download the full text, I'm just going to show you this. Of course, there will be a link. Hey, Perry. It's cold out there today. Of course, there will be links, as always, links in the description of everything I look at. This paper is called Speleogenesis of Mount Elgon, Elephant Caves in Kenya by Joyce Lundberg and Donald A. McFarlane. I did not read this. I went into pieces of it. But it goes really in-depth geomorphology. It goes back into the setting. It breaks down the lithology of each of these layers. See this? This is describing each individual layer. There's pictures, secondary minerals. It goes into the caves, channel flow. Then it goes into the elephants. And it goes into geophagy, eating dirt. I think that translates to eat dirt. This PDF is large and in charge, okay? If you want to do a deep dive, and I recommend doing that because there's a lot of more details that you can tease out of this material. There's a lot more here. As with all these stuff, it just goes on and on. Go check out this PDF, because if you read this, you will know more about these caves than 99.9999999% of humanity. So go check that out if you are so inclined. We're going to go to a channel by Robert Wanyonyi. Probably not saying that right. I apologize, Robert. We just wanted to take a peek at a little part of your video here. It's titled "A Walk Through the Tough Caves of Mount Elgon Forest." Like we mentioned earlier in the video, this is it's like a wide, low entrance, but it's not really low. You can walk into it. Lots of breakdown. They theorize that that's one of the ways animals actually die, is that the elephants go through here and they're just digging everywhere with their tusks, and oftentimes they will loosen up stuff. And since there are large blocks of just solid basalt kind of interspersed within the pyroclastic stuff, sometimes these large pieces will fall right out. And, I mean, if you happen to be in the wrong spot at the wrong time, you're going to get crushed by these things. And now they're on their way out. Again, we're just trying to look at all those people there. We're just trying to kind of orient you so you can kind of have it in your own head as to what this thing is like. I mean, there must be 20 or 30 people here at the entrance. Look how green it is. And he gets muddy. They get muddy. Apparently in the back, it does get quite wet. Anyway, he just stands there and he says, "Hey, look at all this mud stuff. And look how far he went in. And this I think is pachyderm poop." So now he's talking. As you can see, it's very, very wet there. There's a lot of water. Go watch that because there's more to this video. But again, I'm just doing this one because I want to get an idea of the dimensions here. And again, this is Robert Wanyonyi. Up next on Top Box TV, we have Hidden Animal Graveyard. This is from a show. This is an excerpt, I guess, from a show. Or is it the whole show? Oh, this is George Karunas. Okay. The host, George Karunas. So remember those pictures we looked at earlier? Yeah. So this is the guy who did that. Angry Planet is Adventures Explorations Storm Chaser, George Karunas, as he investigates the most extreme forces of nature. If I went to this cave, and I would love to go to a cave like this, I would go in like that. I wouldn't do anything in here without what they have on. I wouldn't go in here just on a tour because, I mean, the two people that died after they came out of here, they probably just went in there too. So again, this is not about the Marburg virus angle of this whole story. I'm more about just interested in the caves and the elephants. Okay, so there's the waterfall. And actually, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong earlier. Maybe there is a permanent waterfall. I don't think it's permanent, but this might have been the fall that initiated the sapping action. I'm going to turn this off because I don't want the music. They go in here. Look at that. Now, this is shot with probably with a proper camera, so it looks a lot better. Yeah, I mean, what did we say in the beginnings? They go the whole way to the end of the cave and then push on through tighter spots to get to fresh layers. I'm going to hit the mute so we don't have any music issues. Let's check. Yeah, that looks good. Let's start this sucker. And let's put on the things, and I'll read the stuff that makes sense. So in this video, there's the entrance. They're going back to check out the bats. But like we said before, Egyptian fruit bats, they live in this cave. As Dawn leads the way and introduces me to all kinds of weirdness. This is nasty with a capital N. So he's pointing to these bugs. These are parasitic insects that feed off of the blood of the bats. So if you're a bat, you're up there trying to relax. What happens? You get these parasitic bugs, which, right? It's like do they kind of look like bed bugs? I don't know. I don't like those bugs. And if I was a bat, I would not like those bugs either. Stupid bugs. And I think these are what they're doing here is they're talking about the heat from the bats. See the microclimate with the heat in the bats' bodies. They generate enough heat to make the walls about 14. So there's so many bats, they generate a lot of heat and moisture, and that can affect the cave and the cave's microclimate. So they're going back. There's you can see the big chunks that fall out. We're going to cross over the top of this collapse pile. There's a bat coming over the far side that we can get. Okay, so I think they are trying to get a bat to do some science with it. I don't know exactly what. And this is the back end of the cave. Now, I would imagine the tours probably don't go back this far. But what these guys are wearing, this is what I would want to wear to go anywhere near this cave. Just my own personal preference. All right. So they're going to the back. It's also dusty. So if you don't have what they have, you're breathing in bat poop, elephant poop, the poop of every animal that goes in there, right? You're going to be breathing in. Oh, what's that? Is that what I think it is? Yes, it is. Get ready for this shot. Whoa. Yeah. What the? Yeah, that's exactly what you think it is. Those are the bats. And then something happens and they turn their lights on and then all the bats start flying around, freaking out. Of course. I mean, didn't they know that was going to happen? There they go. Look at them. And these are big bats. These are megabats. So if one of these things hits you at full speed, it's going to leave a mark. Look at them. They're like, get out of here. They're coming. Angry planet. People are coming. So I think they were trying to grab one, maybe take a blood sample, or I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, but they were trying to take a blood sample. And then he goes into this thing about he made a fatal mistake. Well, honestly, I mean, I want to say they're kind of hyping it up for the drama, but if they think that the Marburg virus, the hemorrhagic fever, is carried by these bats, then yeah, you don't want to be handling bats with little vinyl gloves on, which is what he has. So he's saying, I made a major screw up. I can't believe I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's pretty serious. Did he develop Marburg disease? Probably not, but still. I've just been bitten. Yeah, so he was bitten by one. Oh, man. He was bitten by one. Yeah, there it is. I mean, even they're cute even when they're mad, right? A bit of a panic because when I was catching the one that had it fit through my glove, stupid me, I didn't put my thicker gloves on. Yeah. I mean, a little too late. Millions of thoughts racing through. Yeah, you did. Like Marburg disease, from what I just read briefly, it's, you don't slip away peacefully. It's a gruesome, painful death that goes on for a while. I would recommend watching this whole thing if you can find. I don't know if this is the whole episode. It might be, but if you can find this whole episode of Angry Planet, it's number 302, Elephant Cave, Hidden Animal Graveyard, and I'm watching it here on Top Box TV. Okay, let's get to another one here, and this is a cool one because this is more of like a local thing.
They are very flexible enough. Like you can see this space here. It's very small, but the animals, the elephants
a cool
have
accent.
the ability of squeezing themselves. They are very flexible in that they can squeeze themselves and then they get in through here.
He's just talking about the elephants.
These ones, they are only the outer part of it. The marks that you see around here are meant only to train the young ones on how to do the tasking. But they go far to 60, as far as 60 meters deeper, to do the rock tasking. Now they go that deeper because
the rock tasking.
The young ones cannot manage to chip this hard rock, but inside there we have a very soft rock that enables that the young ones can easily.
It's the, and I think he's talking about that green agglomerate stuff. I think that's what he's referencing right here.
I think we can proceed.
There's yellow agglomerate and green agglomerate.
One of the elephants never made it safely out. That it fell into a depression and then it died, and the skull remained there, and it is still preserved to date. I
wonder if that's what that we were looking at earlier, if that wasn't like an ox or a bush buck. That was actually an elephant bone.
This is the end of the cave. We are inside Kitum Cave, and this is the far that elephants can reach They come all the way from the entrance to this point to do the rock tasking. Now you can see the marks on the walls.
He said it was 60 meters.
This has been their routine for so long. They've been coming here for years. You can see that the walls of the cave was flat, but it has really go inside. You can see the roots,
clearly see the tusk marks,
like this one's here. These are hard rocks, and then they normally go in for the softer part of it, like this one's here.
The agglomerates.
So they normally chip these ones. They come here in large numbers, including the young ones.
So the mothers say, go ahead, up the rock there. There's a good spot right there. You see that green rock? Go check that out. And then the kids are like, okay, I'm just going to take a poop. That's, who is that? That's, what's his name? Philippe Chepso. And this is on a channel called Felt, which was probably somebody who went there and just filmed their personal tour, and Mr. Chepso is the guy who gave the tour. Felt. So go check out that channel. So the next video is on the channel Terra Mater, and they did a documentary. The original production is called Wild Uganda, a co-production of Terra Mater, Factual Studios, and National Geographic. So this, and it looks like this came out in, was it 2020? So yes, 6 years ago. And they put, I guess, cameras as night vision. They didn't want to disturb the elephants like they disturb the bats. They modified and enlarged these caves, digging ever deeper into the mountain. So that looks like a full-grown elephant, right? And it's exerting all of its force. So they're getting in there, they're digging around with these tusks. And if you'll notice, their tusks are kind of stubby. And that is because they go in here and use them to dig this stuff out. I just want to show you, because that's really the best. Well, actually, no, it's not the best footage. We have another one. We have another clip here that shows it's a little more extensive in that it shows a whole troop of these elephants going into the cave. But again, this was Terra Mater. We went inside an elephant cave. I watched a good part of this too. This is just the clip though. I just did a little clip of that. All right, and next up, Ian Redmond channel, clip of bats and salt crystals. So Ian Redmond, who is the kind of the OG biologist in this whole thing, he has his own channel. This was 5 years ago. Yeah, Ian Redmond, he has his own channel. Fruit bats in the roof of Kitum Cave, Kenya, revealed by thermal camera. Spider lives in Crystal Palace. I like that title. You hear this? So here's a large cluster of these Egyptian fruit bats. And this, I thought this was really neat. And I haven't really seen this in any other video, although I didn't watch all the videos. All of the videos on YouTube. This is the crystal, the minerals coming out and crystallizing. You see those shiny little needle-like things there? They look like anthodite crystals, but I think anthodite is gypsum. This is probably some type of salt. And that's that crust, that's that friable crust that we were talking about before. There is a big spider there. So the elephants come and they, and other animals too, probably. Animals that don't have the issue of tusks coming out, you know, they probably just go up there and just lick it right off the wall with the spiders and everything and the baby elephant poop, right? But yeah, so you get these crystals. I mean, there might be better video of that elsewhere. Again, this is Ian Redmond's channel. I think I just clipped. Did I just clip this? Yeah, this is a clip, but he has a longer video there that shows more of the bats and stuff like that, and probably more of the crystals. So we are going to close out this video, and I hope you're having a good time. If you are, make sure you hit subscribe, ring the bell, follow me on all platforms. And so that's going to wrap it up for this episode. What'd y'all think? Pretty neat, huh? Somebody told that story to you. You might think they're full of it. Elephants, spelunking elephants. No such thing. No such thing. Well, you'd be wrong. In fact, there are spelunking elephants and all kinds of other creatures. In the comments, would you go into this cave on one of these tours? I would like to know. Because honestly, with the Marburg, like I said before, not unless you kit me out like those two scientists were. the one who got bitten by the bat, unfortunately. No, I'm not going to risk it. As neat as it is, no, I'm not. I don't want Marburg hemorrhagic fever. I didn't really find any really good photos, although I have a timeline when I make these videos. You know, I'm coming in the morning doing research, so do some of your own research. Find out. I'd like to see some, you know, really nice quality photos of the interior of this cave, close-ups of the crystals and those bugs and the I don't know, but the elephant footage, the dark the elephant footage, yeah, that's really cool. That's really what I find to be the most interesting about this, and also the way the cave's formed, and the fact that they're so large and so spacious, and yet, you know, this is they're not karst caves, they're not lava tubes, although I guess there are lava tubes apparently, and there are other features, waterfalls, cliffs. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. It's a gigantic situation. The caldera itself is 40 kilometers, and that's the top of the mountain. So I think the base of the mountain, the base of the volcano, is like 80 kilometers wide. So there's going to be so much stuff all around. We're doing all right. This is Brett for TopoRanger. I hope you had a good time. I know I surely did. And I'll see everyone in the next episode.